I'm Alan Doderlein with the Depression and Bipolar Support Alliance, and we're talking today with Karen about depression and how it affects your relationships, both with your partner or spouse and your relationships with family and friends. And thank you for being with us today, Karen.
Thank you.
You are married,
Yes.
been married for 3 years.
I'm together with my husband for 10.
Wow, so a 10-year relationship, a long time romantic partnership. When did you first share with your husband that you experienced depression?
I shared with my husband after we moved in with each other, being with each other for 2 years. In the beginning, when I was feeling depressed, I would just tell him that I don't feel good, I have a headache, don't really feel like going out. I would make up excuses along those lines. But once you start living with someone, you can't hide those facts from them. It becomes obvious. So before we moved in with each other, I told him I suffer from depression. And at first he just kind of blew it off as, well, everybody suffers from depression, everybody has sad days kind of situation. And then once we started living with each other, it became more apparent that it wasn't just a couple sad days here and there.
Why did you feel like it was something you couldn't disclose right away?
A lot of it has to do with shame. It's getting better now, but there is still a stigma with people who have depression. And I didn't want him to judge me based on the fact that I'm depressed. I'm still a person, I'm not just depression. And a lot of it was guilt because I felt like I didn't have the right to feel this way. I mean, I had a relationship, I had friends, I had a good job, I had a family. And so I didn't want to be judged for the fact that I have all these good things. Why am I still feeling depression?
And what was the experience for your husband like? If you were to characterize what it was for him to hear that you have depression and not really understand it, what turned it around for him? What helped him understand what depression really was?
I think it took a lot of time. In the beginning of our relationship, he was very frustrated with it because he didn't fully understand what was going on. And then after I was hospitalized for the first time from depression is when it really kind of, I guess, kicked into his head that this is not just her having some bad days in a row, that this actually is a serious illness. And that's when he started doing research with books and the web. And then, like, I started becoming more educated on it. And then once both of us became more educated on the clinical aspect of it, it was easier to talk about the emotional aspect of depression between us.
Interesting. So it was actually a process of not just educating your husband, but also educating yourself.
Yeah, I mean, I had shied away from the fact. Like, I was diagnosed with depression when I was in high school, and I didn't want to ever accept it. Like, I knew I had it, but I wasn't ever going to accept it. You know what I mean? And it took me years to finally accept the fact that I suffer from depression. And I think after I accepted the fact that I suffer from depression, it was easier for other people around me to accept that fact too, especially for him. And I mean, and we still have our rough days when it comes to my depression. It's not all candy and rainbows, you know what I mean? But they're less and less now because we both have a better understanding of what's going on with each other. So it's just easier now.
What about relationships with friends?
My current best friend, we've been friends now for about 10 years. When I told her I suffer from depression, she went gung-ho into research mode, I guess. She bought me books, printed stuff out from the web, was all about finding out as much as she could about what was going on with me so she could better understand it and help me. And when I do have my bad days, she's all about being there. And I've discovered that majority of the people in my life went down that road than the abandonment road, which makes me feel good. And when people did start leaving or becoming not as available to me when I told them that I suffer from depression, at first it really hurt. But as I became more clear on what depression is for me, I realized I don't need those people in my life if they're not going to accept this part of me.
It sounds like your friends and your husband are really allies in your wellness plan. How do you create that kind of relationship? How do you ensure that your husband, your friends, your family are on the team that's helping you get well and stay well?
I think the first major component of them being on my team is when I started being honest with them and stopped lying about how I was feeling. Like I used to say, I don't feel good, or, you know, this hurts or that hurts, or my tummy's upset, or I had too long day of work to go out, when I was feeling depressed, to make excuses. So when I stopped making excuses and just said, I'm feeling depressed today and it's affecting the way I live today, people, you know, joined the team to help me not feel that way anymore. Honesty is a very good policy. In my opinion, it's the best. It might not work for everybody, but it worked for me.
That's great. Thank you so much, Karen, for talking with us today about depression and how it affects relationships. We appreciate your contributions and thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me.